What's up, everybody? It's Michael here, and in today's video, we're going to talk about React Server components. Now, I'm not too sure if you're familiar, but in January, like around end of January, there's this whole big stir about React Server components and how they're evil, and it's PHP and like Next.js is ruining React, etc., etc. And one thing I understood is not a lot of people understand what React Server components or RSC really means. And to be honest, neither did I. So I did some research and I found this article, and this article breaks it down so beautifully that I wanted to make a video about it, going over it with you. So let's get into it. So it starts here, and I'll link it down in the description below. It says React Server Components, or RSC, was first introduced 3 years ago, but it's still confusing to a lot of us web developers. We know React, we know Server, we know Component, but somehow putting them together isn't what React Server Component seems to be. As a user of React, I've been trying to wrap my head around RSC too, and the following is what I've come to on a conceptual level. I believe it starts with a big picture, and the big picture is called the React architecture, in which React fully controls a UI app beyond what we know as client-side or the browser, i.e. browser, and any UI app that adopts this new architecture is fully built on React. React architecture consists of two parts, React Server and React Client. So I actually have a diagram to kind of show this, and essentially how this works is this is how the React architecture works. Let me delete this here. You have the React Server and the React Client, and the relationship they have is a response request relationship where the client makes a request and the server gives back a response. So just wanted to give you that visual representation. They form a pair, i.e. React Server responds to requests from the React client. And now this is an important line that I didn't know in the beginning. There's an important caveat here. What makes them a server and client is this request response relationship, not necessarily where the process for each runs. Okay, so now we understand the React architecture, how it works, the relationship between React Server and React Client. Now let's deep down further. Before going further, let's recall React is all about component. In React, components refer to a certain recipe for a piece of UI. Following the recipe with the same values for its ingredients, i.e. props, should result in the same UI. So if you have a component, and the design of the component is the exact same, you duplicate it and you put the same props, it's going to be the exact same component, correct? In practice, each component is a function that returns a React node. My TypeScript devs would know this because you'd have to use the React node type. By composing components in a tree, we create a recipe for a large, more complex UI. A React app is then a root component that often has many nested children components. That makes sense. Now, here is the juicy stuff, and this is where understanding this makes sense. What is React Server? It is a process that takes the full React component tree and executes them components unless marked with use client to defer their execution. So the React Server is where the component tree is executed unless use client is marked. Because if use client is marked, then the execution is deferred, meaning it will happen on the browser. It continues to say, its output is a mix of executed and not executed components that can be sent to the React client. So the executed code happens on the server, and the non-executed components will be sent to the client to then be executed. In return, React client is more or less what we've always known as React. Not much has changed, except it knows how to finish the React tree by picking up where the React server has left off. So React client, use client, is basically the React that we all know and have used before, right? So there's nothing different there. Then it says not much has changed except it knows how to finish the React tree where the React server is left off. Then it consumes the final React tree by either generating static HTML or attaching it to the DOM on the browser. The order is important here for a given React though. React server first sees the full React component tree, executes components not marked to use client, and outputs partially complete React tree. React client only comes later to finish the job. So the mental model is this. Your server components are executed first. So whatever data you fetch, whatever HTML is created is sent to the client. So that's why when you have a server component, things on the server components are always visible right away, right? But there's still unexecuted code because of the tag use client. So any component that has use client will be executed on the browser. So that's sort of the relationship. So it's the same React code. It's just a matter of where is it getting executed? Is it getting executed on the server and being sent to the client, or is it being executed on the client, right? Is it being sent from the server, still being sent from the server, but is it being executed on the client? That is the question. So to finish off, it says here, so conceptually, there's nothing really special about React server components as such. They are just components that happen to be executed by the React server. The key difference between RSC and React client components lies in not where they are, but rather where they're executed. So React server components are executed on the React server and sent to the React client. And React client components, what we've always been used to, is just executed on the React client, i.e. the browser. As here, for example, if a client component is executed, if a component is executed by the React server running on Node.js, it can access the Node.js API. That's why you can use the Node.js API in your server components. But then it says here, if a component is executed in an environment where a database is available, you could query the database. Simultaneously, when you think of React components, since that component is being executed on the browser, that's why you have access to the browser API, right? So if we go back to Excalibur, when you have a component that is executed on the React server, you end up having access to Node.js API, like those like file system APIs and all that stuff. But when you have a client component, you have access to the browser API. And the reason why this is the case is because it depends on where the component is being executed. React server components are executed on the React server, and React client components are executed on the React client. I hope this makes sense. When you understand this, it also helps with how you architect your Next.js or React applications. I hope this makes things a bit more clear. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll link the article down below. It's an excellent and short article. I will link it down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you all for the support. The channel has been growing well. The views have been increasing much more than I expected. So thank you so much for all the support and all the love. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.